Welcome to Guns and Gear Network, everyone. I had done a series of videos about this stove, and I wanted to just kind of consolidate it all down and go over all the improvements and kind of do a little better lighting and so forth on the video. And so anyway, this is that video. So we're talking about the TMS stove here. I want to show you, this is the, some people, it's under different names, but it's TMS military wood stove is how it's listed usually on eBay or Amazon, or if you just look up military wood stove, usually this style will come up. They're great stoves. I like it, but it does have a few shortcomings, and I'll explain that to you and as we go, and the modifications that I did to mine. What I did here is not very expensive, and it just really makes it really nice. And first thing I'll talk about is this handle here. The one from the factory is terrible, and that's one of the major complaints on this stove is that handle. So what I did was I took a piece of flat bar, and I'll show you the correct bend, how I did it. Just like that. There's a little S here at the end. This right here, I drilled a hole and put this wood handle on it. So it's just a wood drawer knob. You can buy at Lowe's for $1, and that will keep the heat transfer down from getting this hot. You'll need some spacers here to pull it away from the door. And then this bend here, actually, if you look, that's what helps secure it in place. That is 10,000 times better than the original door. All right, so the other thing I did was add this barrel lock. You actually could probably use the factory handle that it comes with, and then just use buy you a barrel lock. And it's hard to do one-handed, but just like that. And that right there, another reason I like it too for the barrel lock is I can lock it in place, and this will not come undone during travel, because you store all the pieces of the stove inside of here. But anyway, that right there is cheap. That's another couple bucks. And then, like I said, the flat bar, you might have some laying around the house. If not, you can go buy some. It's pretty cheap. It's usually $3 or $4 for a stick of it, like that. So one of the other things that this stove is known for is terrible paint, and that's what I'm here today going to do real quick here in a few minutes. Is I've stripped all the paint off. I used it's called airplane stripper. It's a foam spray. Some people will try burning it off. The problem with that is usually it burns off in the hot spots, and then it leaves the rest on there to burn later, possibly inside of a tent, and it's going to smell. So I just bought a couple cans of that stripper, sprayed it down, soaked it, and literally hosed it off with a water hose. Got everything off, dried it real good. Then I cleaned the surface with some denatured alcohol to make sure it was prepped for paint. And I've put several layers of high temp paint on there. You can use barbecue paint, you can use whatever. Just make sure it's really high temperature paint. A couple other things. This stove does not come with a damper in the stove pipe itself, and that was something that I wanted, so I could choke the fire back, keep the heat in the tent and not going out the stove pipe. It's more efficient that way. And you can adjust, it's almost like a thermostat control on your house. So you may want it open to allow more heat to escape, or close it down to cut down on the fuel consumption of the wood and slow down the burn, and it also keeps the heat inside the tent area. But let me show you what I did. This thing started out, I bought it at Lowe's, and it is a 6-inch damper that you can buy, and it started out like this, and I cut it down, I marked it, and then I trimmed it with some tin snips, and then I slowly but surely ground it to fit this pipe. And if you look, it has right here, it has this piece, which is the important piece that allows it to flip around, like right there. So this right here is not, I added this right here just to kind of stabilize it. It does not, obviously this one from the factory, it doesn't even have one on the other end, but this one, once you trim it, it wouldn't have it anyway, because you would trim it away. But I stuck another one over here just to kind of stabilize it, make it a little more secure. It does come with its own handle, which is this and this wing nut. I added a couple lock washers to kind of space it out right, and then I added this wood handle again for heat transfer to be able to make adjustments without gloves and so forth. It won't get hot. So that's what I did. Added a damper to it, and I added it to just above the mark there. Now what I'm going to do today is I'm going to always test your equipment, and I'm going to set this camera up, and I'm going to finish setting up this stove here, and see if we can't burn it and see how it does with the damper and everything. We'll test it all out and so forth. These things are a little tight, but that's good. It'll keep alright, so get your first section on like that, and then I'm going to show you something else here in a minute when I get done with all this that I did buy from Lowe's, and I'll tell you why. Well, let me go ahead and tell you that now. Alright, so one other thing I wanted was some versatility with this stove, and because all their pipe section is straight, you cannot really utilize it in an emergency. Let's say in your home where you the grid was down, you didn't have any heat, and you couldn't run this because the pipe is straight, so you need a 90. So I went to Lowe's and I found this 90 here, and this is for a 3-inch pipe. These here are 2 3/4, so I'm going to play with it a little bit as far as clamping it down. But if you look now, I can run it out the window. Now these right here, believe it or not, are adjustable, so I can kind of play with the adjustment angle if need be out a window. So now I can run it out a window if I need be, or instead of running it out of the top of a tent, I can now run it out of the side of a tent and go down, put a stove jack in the side wall of a tent. So anyway, I wanted to show you that. Finish putting it together here, and then we'll get it going. I've used this one numerous times and just slowly made the improvements. One other complaint that people talk about is this right here. If you look on the inside of it, that's the spark arrestor. Some people have complained that this has gotten clogged up. So far I've not had that issue, so I may wind up having to play with the spark arrestor sometime or another to see if I can fix that. Alright, so if you look, let me get this out of the way. Alright, so if you look, and this thing, I'm just going to guess you're probably looking at close to 8 foot worth of pipe there. Not pipe itself, but total height. Somewhere between 7 and 8 foot. One of the other things I did on the improvements on these legs here, if you look, they are just hollow legs, and I added these little rubber stopper pieces. Kind of looks like it goes on the end of a cane, and the reason I did that is so now mud and dirt don't get inside of this leg, and it makes it a little easier. And if you're going to put this in a tent, especially even with a floor system, or you're just putting it in the tent out of the way, this right here will make it a little more easy to not damage your floor of anything, and it won't scratch anything, or in your home. So these little rubber plastic type end pieces here is what I used. Also, it comes with 2 tools. Comes with these couple tools here, and that are pretty handy. And so let's see here if I can get this thing started. I've got her loaded up with some pretty dry wood, and then I've also got it stuffed with some paper, and I've also got right here I've got a cotton ball and Vaseline, and I'm just going to see if I can get it started from right here. I've stuffed paper all the way to the back, and then a little bit on top. So let's just see what happens here. Now my damper, that is the up position. That means it's open. And if you go down, that would close it. So it's going to smoke when you first light it till you start getting some draft. Now it has two vents, front and rear. I'm going to go ahead and open this one up so I can get some draft coming through. And let's just see what happens. Like I said, I'm going to give it a real good hard burn today, and try getting any toxic fumes or anything on this paint off of it, so it's much easier. If you look, it's already starting to draft. That's the paper is what you're seeing with all that smoke. Like I said, that was one cotton ball and quite a bit of paper and some dry wood. And you saw one little spark got right there in the front. I didn't have to worry about sticking anything in the back. So let's just see what happens here. Also on this stove, people ask about some of this stuff. This right here is a grate that's makes it flat across the top so you can cook on it. Also these right here, you can use those for possibly baking things such as potatoes or ears of corn, that sort of thing, in there and cook them. Also, you can flip this around, and now I can hang socks, gloves, that sort of stuff right here. Now, I recommend if you're going to put it in a tent is to put you a wire or some type of 550 cord up high. The higher it is, the faster it'll dry. But you do have drying racks that you could hang stuff here and here. So it's still smoking pretty good because all that paper I shoved in there. But I'm going to see if I can get it going to a full blaze. It's starting to get hot in the stove now, so the smoke's starting to die down. And I'm already getting a little bit of bubble on some of this paint, and I can see that now, so I may have to readdress some of the paint. I may have not wiped it down good to prep the metal surface for paint in that one spot. I could have touched it with my finger or something like that and got a little oil on it. But that's another reason I wanted to do this now. Always test your gear to make sure that you're not going to get in the field and have problems. And we have fall and winter coming up. We're planning on doing quite a bit of camping individually and then with the Cub Scouts with my son, and I wanted to start testing some of this gear that I've done, and wanted to see. But if you look right here, the paint is bubbling up pretty good, so gonna have to address that when this is all said and done. A good wire brush will get rid of that and then start over. So let's see what happens. If you look, there's a lot of smoke coming off the stove itself. Again, that's that paint that you don't want that coming in your tent, so you want to give a good hard burn before you go set up somewhere. All right, it's going pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and shut the door, and then I'm gonna open up this vent here like that and see how it does. Like I said, getting quite a bit of smoke still out the stove vent, stove pipe, because it hadn't. Once a fire gets really hot, you'll see that smoke kind of dissipate and go away. But it's not quite there yet because the wood hadn't caught on real good yet. Alright guys, well, I appreciate you tuning in. If you have any questions, post those below. If you have any experience with this stove, make sure you tell us about that and anything that you've done to modify yours. And as always, I appreciate you tuning in to the channel and your support. And if you would, like, share, and subscribe, and we'll be bringing another video shortly. Appreciate it guys. Have a good day.